And thank you for joining us. We're at Armanina's webinar on the CFO benchmark results. And today's webinar, you can get CE, and we will be emailing your certificate 3 business days after this webinar. So just to make sure you know that. First, let's do a little housekeeping. First off, my name is Lori Colvin, and I'm the partner here in charge of marketing and helped with this report in terms of the data and the analytics around some of these results. So we're very excited to share these with you. First, we want to make sure that you use your webinar pane correctly. You can increase or decrease it by using the arrow. You will see that there is a place to enter questions throughout the webinar, and we do encourage you to ask questions, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Next, we want to make sure that you can hear everything clearly, and so if you're listening through the computer, you want to make sure that you've checked mic and speakers, and if you're listening through the telephone, just make sure that is marked as well. So let's go over a little bit of the CE requirements. In order to get CE, you first and foremost need to be using your own personal computer. Second, you need to be logged on for at least 50 consecutive minutes. And we will be asking polling questions throughout the webinar, and you need to answer 75% of those questions. And finally, you need to complete the evaluation survey at the end of the webinar. And even if you're not taking CE, we would love you to complete the webinar so we can see how to improve. Next, we are going to review the presentation overview. So the first thing that we do is talk to you about the CFO Evolution Framework to give you some context. We'll go over the survey demographics, and then the 4 areas that we're concentrating on the survey results are reporting and analytics, mobility, project management, and regulatory compliance. And I did want to let you know that last month we had our webinar on the first part of the survey, which covered IPO, M&A, geographic expansion. So if you are interested in hearing a live recording of that webinar, it is on our website. And I always like to answer the question that yes, we will be sending out the webinar slides to you so that you have those on your record. So what are we going to learn today? We are going to identify the best time to use historical versus predictive analysis. We're going to be taking a look at KPIs and diving into some of the most effective KPIs. And we're going to look at mobile applications and how the CFO organization is deploying mobile applications. And then finally, we're going to look at some ways to improve project management, as well as some of the new regulatory compliances out there and how CFOs are responding. So it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for the day, who is Tom Mescal, and he is our partner in charge of our consulting department, which includes our Microsoft practice, our CFO advisory services, and outsourcing. And Tom really has great experience working with the CFO organization and spends a lot of time with CFOs figuring out how to be strategic, how to concentrate on high value added activities. He's worked on improvement processes, change management, strategy, and planning. He's got background in public accounting as well as private industry, management consulting, and software development. So Tom really has a nice background and a lot of interaction with organizations of all levels of help. So we talked to you about CE. So we're going to start this webinar off with a polling question to kind of get a pulse on where you're at. So our first question is, which of the following is the most challenging for your business? Is it 1, KPIs, 2, analyzing and reporting business information for key stakeholders, 3, providing mobile solutions, or 4, staying within budget and time on technology solutions? So we're going to give everybody a little bit of time to answer the question because, again, you'll want to answer 75% of the polling questions for CE. And we're going to keep the polling open for a few more seconds here. Okay, we're going to close the polling in about 3 seconds, and that's 3, 2, and 1. I will turn it over to Tom, and he can review the answers with you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Lori. I'm happy to be here today, and good afternoon to everybody, and welcome. It looks like clearly the number one answer to the poll was analyzing and reporting the business information to the key stakeholders. 56% of you out in the audience recognize that as the number one challenge, followed by isolating the effective key performance indicators. Actually, the first part of this webinar that I'll be presenting will be focused around the key performance indicators. So hopefully we can give some insights and help you guys in those challenges that you're facing. You know, I'm looking forward to discussing the second part of our annual survey results with you, over this next 50 minutes or so. I would like to update everybody with a little background on our survey. For those of you who attended part one of our presentation, I'll try to move through this quickly. But wanted to get started with why we complete our CFO Evolution Survey every year. First and foremost, and pretty simply, it's to determine what are your priorities. CFOs that we work with every day, what are the key priorities that you guys have, plans and initiatives that you are faced with and trying to figure out how to address. In effect, to have our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the marketplace. The second major reason that we do the survey every year is to give back, to share the knowledge of what others are doing. What are the key trends out there? What are some of the best practices? And to provide a benefit of taking this survey information and giving it back to our clients. We've had a great track record of success over the last number of years, and we're happy to roll out our latest survey here in February. So the results of our 2013 survey focused around some key trends and tactics that help CFOs and their companies get to the next level and to enhance the value of the CFO organization in the process. Specifically today, I want to be discussing the results of the second half of our survey, which really focused on a few key things: reporting and analytics, mobility, and project management, and then finally we'll conclude with some of the changes that are happening on the regulatory front that CFOs are faced with. So let me begin as a starting point on the CFO Evolution Framework. What is it? Why is it important? And why is it the basis for a survey that we do every year? Well, really, as a starting point for today's discussion, I want to review what the CFO Evolution Framework is. It's a foundation for CFOs to think more strategically about their organization. Everybody out there is very, very busy. The time goes by quickly. Before you know it, you're at month-end close, quarter-end close, and the year's over. But, pulling out of the fast lane from time to time to really think, where are we going? How do we provide a roadmap for some of the key things that need to get accomplished in the future, as well as how do you provide your leadership back into the organization? So the framework starts with the premise that the various functions of the CFO organization are categorized in three major buckets. The first is the accountant role, the second is the protector, and the third is the business leader. For many years now, our survey has confirmed that the vast majority of organizations spend a lot of their time, money, and resources in the role of the accountant, when in fact they would like to spend far more time in the business leadership role. This year's survey shows that CFOs are spending 55% of their time in the accountant role. When asked how they would like to spend their time, they would like to be spending about 30% of their time there and more than 50% in the business leadership. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you make that transformation, not only for yourself and your role, but your organization? So to achieve the goal of really transforming the CFO organization, it's very difficult. There's a lot of demands on financial reporting. There's lots of demands on compliance. Obviously, new accounting requirements are coming out at all times. CFOs are faced with getting the books done accurately. And I think the focus has to be not only accurately, but how do we do it fast and efficiently? There is no silver bullet. We're hoping these surveys lend a lot of kind of insights into how to do it. There's three major levers that we've found over the years that can really focus on improving. It's around your people, around the business processes, and the technology that you use and utilize. So, in previous years, we've highlighted many of the keys that CFOs have utilized when improving people, process, and technology. Additionally, our surveys have always highlighted the areas companies struggle with when addressing people, process, and technology. So this year is no different. Today we will explore a number of areas that will hopefully make a difference and address either the things that some companies have done from a best practices perspective or that are continually faced as a challenge, and will help you today in addressing some of your key issues that you have. Before we jump into our first chapter here, just a little bit about the demographics of the survey. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty swayed towards finance executives. As you can see, 92% of the participants in our CFO organization are in the CFO organization, and 65% of all respondents are CFOs. So I believe we are getting to the CFO's top concerns, and really looking at what are the things that the CFOs are most struggling with. Once again, this year we had terrific participation from multiple industries. A number of key industries include the technology industry, manufacturing, financial services, and professional services. If you look at those four industries alone, they make up 81% of all the companies that participate, which is very representative of the clientele that we have here at Armanino, and feel that the survey is giving great results back to our clients. Okay, so the first area I want to jump into is around reporting and analytics. Lori mentioned earlier today in her introduction that we were going to review how CFOs are thinking and reacting to a few of the business challenges that they're dealing with or will deal with over the next year. And so, these areas that we're going to talk about today aren't for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. These are issues that companies are dealing with today and want to solve this year. So we're going to start looking at the reporting and analytics first. Big data has been on the news. It's been in lots of magazines. It's very topical in the business world as well as the IT world today. And I thought I'd just start with the definition from Wikipedia on what big data is. It is the collection of data sets that are large and complex, that it becomes difficult to process using on-hand database management tools. The challenges around big data include capturing, curation, storage, search, sharing, transfer, analysis, and visualization. So, really when I look at that, the definition of big data, it's a lot of things that companies need to do in the future that probably not many of them are doing today. Big data is very real. We are generating a lot more information than we ever have in the past. And the question is, how are we going to deal with this, and what is our analytics going to look like in the future? Companies today now have access to an exponential volume, variety and velocity of data. It's predicted over the next 3 years that 85% of Fortune 500 organizations will fail to exploit big data and achieve a competitive advantage. That's pretty staggering. that the news is talking about big data. IT is really moving in this direction, yet some of the predictions out there is that even the Fortune 500 won't be able to take advantage and make this a big differentiator for them. According to another study, EMC Squared, the Digital Universe study, over the next 7 years, the world will generate 50 times the amount of information available today. There will soon be nearly as many bits of information in the digital universe as stars in the universe. And however, when you look at the IT budgets for the next coming years, it is planned to grow at less than 1.5 times. So data is exponentially expanding, yet our budgets around IT aren't expanding at nearly as rapid of a rate. So that's a pretty large gap. Therefore, the challenge for the CFOs comes from isolating what is really the important data, ensuring that you're tracking the most important information when it comes to benchmarking your organization internally against competitors, and then coming up with what are the key performance indicators for your company. And many are currently facing an increasing demand of key performance indicators, or KPIs. What we're seeing in this year's survey respondent is that there are as many users of data or requesters from the CFO organization that are asking for more and more and more key performance indicators. So management is asking for more information. So, we know that data creation is increasing at a rapid pace. As a result, the strategic CFOs are seeking opportunities to figure out how to streamline decision-making, elevate the importance of key performance indicators in the business, and measure performance of the company in a real time. The focus is really shifting from historical-based key performance indicators to predictive analytics or dynamic metrics in the business. This is a key thing that we found in our respondents, is that best-in-class companies are moving from just looking at historical information and trying to put more predictive information into their business and into the hands of business decision makers. Today's traditional software tools that most companies have utilized are things like data warehouse or business intelligence tools. And those are being stretched because many of them have this historical perspective to them. Most managers want data that is on demand. They want it on any device. And managers do not want a historical tabular-based report. They want to be able to do discovery of information and their own drill down. So let's look at some of the survey responses that we've gotten. So, today CFOs currently base about 74% of all analysis that's provided within their company on historical data. So the majority of information that is provided out to the managers within the business or up to the CEO and the board of directors is historical based. And we're seeing a desire to decrease the reliance on historical data and increase the use of predictive data for reporting and analytics. In fact, CFOs would like 47%. That's kind of a funny mathematical number there. I mean, you round it up to 50%. But 50% of the reporting that's going on within their company, the sharing of information, to be more predictive in nature than historical in nature. And so, this is an interesting trend that we see in the survey. It's an interesting trend that we see with our clients asking about what are the keys for building more predictive analysis and building more trending information into their systems. So, CFOs are naturally looking how to impact their organizations in meaningful ways in providing this analysis. They're concentrating on pulling data and providing analysis to help themselves and management make decisions based on what could happen versus what has happened. And so the inherent challenge here is the sheer amount of data. Do you have access to all of it? Do you have the right tools? Do you have the people in place to think in terms of providing predictive information, etc. So at this, I want to turn it over to Lori for our next polling question.
Yeah, so our polling question number 2 is going to dive a little bit deeper into to hear from you all on what data points are you using for predictive analysis. So when you think about how you are predicting what's happening next, are you looking at sales forecasting and pipeline data, product manufacturing, marketing lead generation, business backlog, or budgeting data? So if you could all answer or 1 through 5, and we're going to leave it open a little bit so everybody can hop on, because to get CE you do need to answer 75% of the polling questions. Okay, and we're going to close it down in about 3 seconds here. So 3 and 2 and 1. And I'll turn it back over to Tom to review the results.
Well, thanks very much. So as you see from the polling data, the vast majority of you today are using sales forecasting and pipeline data. And that's pretty consistent with our survey respondents. Most companies today use that as one of their key predictive metrics. And, you know, the next category that's used by the audience here is budgeting data. I think that's pretty much in line as well. What we're seeing is a lot of companies, in addition to using those 2 main areas, are starting to put more and more emphasis on product and manufacturing data, whether it's quality or returns or customer complaints, linking product data to customer outcomes. That's becoming a pretty big trend in the market. Additionally, marketing lead generation has been a big area that companies have put their foot on the gas, if you will. You know, marketing lead generation has been tied to predicting future business as well. And you talk about big data, customers or prospects can interact with you and your company in many, many different ways through many different channels, whether it's through your own website, social networks, your inside sales group, follow-on customer, customer retention, et cetera. So there's a lot from the marketing side that's becoming pretty popular on the predictive analytics side. So it's something that you out in the audience should think about that and how it may affect your business going forward. So so I guess, you know, one of the questions right now inevitably would be, so how do we get there? How do we improve our reporting and analytics? How do businesses begin to use predictive analytics more and more in their business? You know, the executive team, per our survey, was really the number 1 group that was putting the most pressure on CFOs. 76% of all CFOs are facing increased demand for more robust KPIs or key performance indicators from the executive suite. Followed next by the internal departments, which is really the next level of management down in the organization. So if you think about the executive team and the next level of managers in an organization, the senior managers, if you will, both those groups are wanting more and more information. You know, examples of this increase in demand for KPIs include, hey, we want additional KPIs, some things that we don't currently have in our business. We want better and more accurate KPIs. We want the increase in frequency of KPIs to be provided to us more often. So if today they're quarterly, we want them monthly. If they're monthly today, we want them weekly. And in the case if they're weekly today, we want them daily. And you know, we see that more and more in our clients' businesses, where weekly and daily metrics are being asked for more and more often, and that need needs to be met. So the increase in this demand is really driving a lot of the future of data analysis. It drives how we think about it. It drives the technology choices we make, and it drives a lot of the people that are involved in that. In order to meet these expectations, CFOs need to focus their efforts on the company's really strategic goals. By developing an acute understanding of what factors drive bottom line results and prioritize which indicators are truly predictive in nature to help the business is the key here. So let's look at how companies today are using key performance indicators. So this is per our survey, and you can see from the results here is that the question was really around the effectiveness of the key performance indicators used in the business today. So as you'll see in the chart, CFOs excel at what they kind of know best, the financials, with more than 75% of CFOs ranking their finance KPIs are excellent or good, and the other quarter saying, hey, they're not as good and we have improvements to be made here. Sales KPIs are the next ones that companies believe they're the most effective at providing. I think sales provides us a lot of data. Companies have pretty good records of customers, orders, products, and so turning around KPIs to the sales side of the house is pretty natural for companies. The third area was around the strategic metrics or the company objectives. What's important to accomplishing the overall business plan? And companies there say they're doing 52% of companies say they're doing a good or excellent job. So, and you can see it starts to drop off there. But common historical KPIs for these areas include, gross profit, net profit, EBITDA, return on sales. On the internal side, cost of goods sold, cost of labor, headcount, on customer service, customer acquisition, returns, warranty repairs, etc. Many of these, as you can see on this page, are historical in nature. While these KPIs are the most popular, you can see most are historical, as I mentioned. And so, the question is, how do we get to a more predictive look at the KPIs? So, we work with a lot of software companies, have for many, many years, and in the software segment has been an industry that has emerged, which is software as a service, so cloud software companies. Cloud software companies are fairly new in nature. They're pretty innovative most times, and I'd say from a KPI perspective, they have really started their business, as well as the entire industry has kind of pushed more to creating metrics around their business that are predictive in nature. And so, when you look at this industry, some of the key performance indicators that are used here, like recurring revenue. It's the amount of subscription revenue owed by customers over a fixed period of time. So a customer signs a contract that may be 12 months in duration, could be 36 months in duration. How much are they going to be able to recognize that revenue over time as the service is provided? If you really analyze this metric that goes with it, it predicts the future financial performance of the company due to revenue recognition. Due to revenue recognition rules, having a really good analysis around recurring revenue will predict your future financial performance. The next one's average recurring revenue, or the average sales price per contract. And this really, that the measurement is a future measure for improvement. To the extent the average is going in the wrong direction, it allows management to have insights into how to improve that. If it's going up, it allows them to try to plan for the rapid increase or growth in their business. Customer acquisition cost, the one-time cost of the marketing, the sales activities, physical infrastructure to retain the customer, to service the customer over a period of time. This sales benchmark or customer benchmark is really a performance metric on sales and marketing. And it can also be an indicator on how to devise business process priorities for improvement. So depending on what your customer acquisition cost is doing, you can have insight into your business on what to do either from a sales and marketing perspective or business process improvement. Churn rate, really the attrition rate of your customers, again, kind of a financial predictor, financial performance predictor of the future. If you know what your churn rate is and you know what your customer, kind of the number of new customers you bring on monthly or quarterly, as well as what your churn rate is, you can predict your financial performance much more easily. Average cost of service, customer lifetime value. So understanding some of the pricing strategies, et cetera, around customer lifetime value, understand the economic value of the customer over the lifetime. When you're dealing with recurring contracts, really helps companies that are in this industry with pricing. So those are some specific examples that are very, very relevant to a segment of the market, software companies, but other industries, if you're not in this, equally probably have a number of key performance indicators that as you start to use them and refine them can not only tell you how you've been doing in the past, but also give you an indicator of things that will come in the future to you and your business, and areas that require more attention from management as well as improvement. Next, I want to hand it back to Lori for our next polling question.
Thank you, Tom. So we know that sales KPIs are very important to you, so we want to dive a little bit deeper and find out what sales KPIs have you found to be most effective within your company. So A is pipeline, and that's by rep or product or territory. B, time to close. C, average deal size. D, win-loss ratio. E, close rate. So we're getting a little bit even deeper on what you want to measure for sales. And we're going to leave the poll open. And remember, again, if you want CE, you need to answer 75% of the polling questions. So we're going to close it in about 3 and 2 and 1. Okay, and we'll turn it back to Tom to see how you answered.
Thank you, Lori. I guess we've been having some sound quality. I apologize. I now just switched microphones using the microphone Lori was using, so hopefully the sound is a bit better. I will stay on this microphone. But if there are any issues, go ahead and email them in and we'll try to address them. So let's say sales KPIs. What have been the most effective today that you guys are currently using? Pipeline. And I think that's pretty common and consistent with our other respondents. Win-loss ratio, certainly another one that's very, very popular, and average deal size. Yeah, I think that's right. I think what you guys are seeing today is key in terms of the KPIs that are used today. And the question then is, how do you refine those? How do you continue to push those key performance indicators out to not only be historical in nature, but be predictive over your business? I wanted to just cover a couple case studies here real quickly of two growing companies in different industries. One is a medical device company, about 6,000 employees. We started working with them around their key performance indicators a while back. But what they really needed was to customize their a set of dashboards for their business. So Varian is a medical device manufacturer. They've used BI to help focus their sales efforts, identify potential devices and software that can be put into their devices by region, so add-on sales, if you will, with their customers. They've been able to sort results based on their size of business, type of customers, and other categories. They also broke a significant amount of data that they had into manageable data sets, allowing customized self-service reporting for their managers in sales, marketing, customer service around contract performance, product maintenance, product usage, and shipping and order information. So, a good example of how a company has taken a lot of their data around sales, marketing, contracts, customers, and fine-tuned it for managing their business. Another client that we've worked with for a while now is a leading provider of enterprise software support. So they are really a service software, but a services company underneath. And what they needed was a one-stop shop to address their data warehousing. They had a lot of information in their ERP system around their customers and contracts. They had wanted to link that to a budgeting, planning, and forecasting capability, completely integrated. And then they wanted to develop dashboards that are readily available through mobile reporting. So have all information brought together, pulled into planning and forecasting capabilities, but then have management be able to access them anytime, anywhere. A lot of it was around the expense tracking for the customer contracts, all the time that was going into it, the different resources. Because they had long-term contracts, they wanted to understand the revenue around those contracts, the revenue recognition, contract renewals, renewal rates, and ultimately they achieved weekly forecasting and a real-time view into their data. So a nice success story around that. We kind of left off at the end of that story was the ability to use mobile technology to deploy out some of this key reporting that their managers needed. And that segues right into our next topic of our survey, which is mobility. And so now we'll shift gears to discuss mobility and mobile applications in the workforce. And this is the second of our topics for today. So, as smartphone and tablet ownership grows, 4G LTE networks have expanded, high-speed data transfer increases, the average amount of data used is expected to increase from 15 megabytes per day per person up to, a gigabyte a day in the year 2020. Many companies now allow you to bring your own device to work, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet. As you bring your own device, enterprise mobility is becoming a big trend for companies, with the market expected to grow 15% annually and reach $181 billion by 2017. So when it comes to implementing, according to our survey, 50% of CFOs say their companies have already implemented or plan to implement a broader mobile strategy, as well as mobile reporting solutions in the next 2 years. So 50% of our respondents are saying, hey, this trend has to be addressed. We have to do something, and we're going to do it in the next 2 years. So let's look at what companies have done today, or maybe what they're going to do in the future. So of the companies that have implemented or are planning to implement mobile solutions, there were key areas that stood out. The first was employee self-service. So 62% of respondents said that was their highest priority for implementing mobile applications, followed very closely by sales automation. So those were the two areas that were very, very high on the list. The next one is really what we've been talking about at the first part of this webinar, is the business metrics. And that was closely followed by ERP access, which of information, which probably falls more in the first category of employee self-service. So if we're going to let people access the ERP data through their mobile devices, it's really to help them do their jobs and their daily lives better. So the next thing that we asked in the survey was there are numerous barriers that can come up for CFOs during this process. So according to our survey, 25% of CFOs listed budget constraints as one of the greatest barriers to implementation. Now, I know CFOs out there, you guys control the budget. So that either means that, hey, it really hasn't been on our radar screen and we got to build it into our budget, but we just haven't done it just yet, or it hasn't become a pain point yet. I thought the other interesting grouping in our survey was there was 25% of the CFOs said nothing's holding them back. And I interpreted that as CFOs saying that, hey, we understand this is a big trend. The request for mobility is going to continue to go up and up, and we're going to just keep, meeting the demand as we go forward. So that was pretty interesting. So the ones that are feeling the budget constraints, you're going to need to figure out a way to get it into your budgets. This area is not going away. It's growing super fast, and something that when you look at how do you become a strategic CFO, this is an area that if you're in front of, you'll be viewed by the business as a strategic CFO. So for those that aren't currently implementing a mobile solution, you have an opportunity to really enhance your strategic leadership in this area. I think we're up to the next polling question, correct, Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so since those of you that said the biggest barrier was budget, we wanted to dive a little bit deeper and ask you what would help you overcome budget barriers to mobile adoption. And you can see that we have keeping up with competitors would drive you to overcome budget, internal demand, what you're hearing from your own internal folks. The right and appropriate applications becoming available to you. You know, you're getting executive pressure. That's always something that helps you overcome budget. Or simply there's been a drop in technology cost. So we're going to leave it open a little bit. And while you guys are all voting, I do want to let you know that all these slides and the recording are going to be available on our website over the next couple of days. And also to remind you, we already have had a couple of questions coming in, but if you do have questions, you can type them in. So we are going to close the poll in about 3 seconds. So we'll say 3 and 2 and 1. And back to Tom for results.
Thanks, Lori. Certainly the results here are a little bit more spread than the previous polling question. So as you guys can see from the results that really all of them, many of them are striking a chord here with our attendees today. I'd like to move on to kind of our point of view around mobile applications. And it's something that we've been sharing with our clients for about a year now. And it's something that's really has been resonating around mobility. But what we see is at the heart of every company, the technology improvement that a lot of companies must have today to succeed is to have a full functioning ERP system that is integrated with their CRM system. So really kind of front office and back office completely integrated together. Once that's done, the next natural thing for a company is to have very, very strong analytics and reporting around those key systems and business intelligence. And whether they're from, the internal employee or management perspective, the business intelligence, or they're, looking at the customer or looking at your key vendors, the business intelligence really has to be addressed at all areas or all 4 corners of your business. The next, what we're seeing is companies are actively putting up self-service capabilities or portal capabilities so that if you're interacting with a customer, they can reach you through your own portal technology. If it's an employee that you're interacting with, they can come through a portal technology to gain easy access to either decision-making information or back-office transactional systems. And now we're seeing companies saying, I want to wrap everything with mobility. So I want to be able to address my employees through mobile capabilities that will then come through the data sources that we have, whether they're the business intelligence or they're the self-service applications that can be run by ERP type applications, or they're Salesforce automation in nature. But if you're looking at the concentric circles of technology that companies are really pushing on, it's these 4 major areas, and we see it in every project that we're doing with customers. Even in a brand new ERP deployment, oftentimes the company will say, as we deploy ERP, I need to have this base set of business intelligence, and I need to have mobile capabilities for this group, whether it's vendors or customers or employees. I need to have mobile capabilities that people can access the information. So this is something that you guys can maybe take, and there's other documents that we have around this to read around how mobility is becoming a bigger and bigger piece in the business environment today. Now I want to go to our third topic of the day, which is around project management. And this year we put project management into the survey for a number of reasons. But the big one was companies continue to struggle around executing successful deployments of technology that affect the CFO organization as well as business improvement. And again, technology is just one key aspect to any process improvement project that you have. You also have business process and people to take into consideration. And I think doing any type of technology deployment has an impact on all 3. And certainly that's why we put it in the survey. We see companies continue to struggle around how to do project management internally, and ultimately how to have successful deployments of new technology initiatives. As you can see from this statistic here, IT spending is not going away. In fact, it's increasing. It's planned to increase another 4.1% this next year. The increase in tech spending, CFOs are notably spending more time than they've initially budgeted on the tasks related to IT implementations. So hence the focus on project management becomes very important to a business to ensure their project success. We know companies are going to spend a lot of money on technology projects. So how do you get the most out of them is the question. Okay, so I think that the graphs here show a few different things, and I'll try to pull out the insights around them. But show that the CFO organization is really budgeting less time to manage the IT projects than is actually required. According to our survey, the CFO organization has estimated their time to be under 10% of the total project time, but consistently has been around the 18% time frame. So this under budgeting or really under appreciation for what does it really take to do projects successfully, I think has hurt the view of projects internally, has hurt how to have a successful project. To the extent you're budgeting less time and then it takes you more time, by definition somebody is going to say, hey, that wasn't as successful as a project as it could have been. Now if the expectations were set differently, then the definition of success is different as well. But this is another great area for CFO leadership and an opportunity to show your strategic leadership capabilities. But when it comes to kind of in-depth technology initiatives, there's no one more experienced with successful project management than CFOs in the CFO organization. Finance chiefs have vital C-suite authority and a global view of a business that's unmatched by anyone other than the CEO, allowing them to ensure that project aligns with business priorities from start to finish. At Armanino, one of the things that we do with our clients is we always budget 20% of the project for our clients for project management, which is really more in line with the survey of the 18%. I would say historically the more time that's budgeted towards project management, the better. It provides more time for project coordination, requirements gathering and understanding of your business processes, and a comprehensive approach to user adoption. And I think all those are very, very important when you're talking about implementing any new technology and to make sure that you have a successful project. Okay, so according to our survey, CFOs cited that the top 3 improvements that could have been made during their most recent IT projects were a better project scoping and planning, training and implementation, and better leadership participation from the departments that were benefiting from the technology. However, the most insightful item from the survey is how important your internal commitment is. As you can see, the bottom 2 areas in the areas of importance are the partner that you select or the consultant that you select to help you implement and the software product. All the other areas of your internal commitment, organization around your internal employees, and the buy-in, etc., ranked ahead of those other 2 areas. And I think that's pretty insightful. So CFOs need to ensure that they have the right mindset when we're going into new projects. IT initiatives aren't just about the right system or the right consulting partner. They're about the commitment by your company and having a deep level of commitment to the project. Go to our polling question number 5.
Okay, so since you guys ranked project scoping and planning, kind of the execution, as being the most area to improve, we wanted to again dive deeper and find out what were your key issues neglected during the project execution of your most recent IT project. So if you think back, number A, you can say unrealistic timeline. B, a failure to understand all project requirements up front. C, a lack of executive involvement, or D, a lack of timely executive decision making. So as you think back to your last IT project, where do you think you could have improved? So we are going to now leave the polling open for another few seconds. So we'll close it in 3 and 2 and 1, and back to Tom.
Thank you, Lori. And the survey is in. Certainly the folks on the webinar today, 65% felt that the failure to understand all the project requirements up front was an inhibiting factor to the project success. I think that's very, very consistent to what we see and really kind of reiterates the point around having a very, very strong project management commitment from your side, the client side, the business's side, and being involved and kind of flushing those things out is key. So, you know, another slide here around our implementation methodology. We have, over the years, completed hundreds of projects, technology systems, consulting projects, process improvements. And one of the keys to our success is having a defined project methodology. We call it our rapid implementation methodology. It provides a comprehensive approach to successfully fulfill business goals and regulatory requirements during any technology implementation. As you can see through our Chevron chart, project leadership and quality management is a constant throughout the entire project. Our methodology incorporates a number of phases, but throughout the project, a constant is the project leadership and quality management. And certainly our survey has reiterated that project management consistency from our clients is key to future successful projects. I quickly wanted to go over one case study here on a company that we've recently worked with. They're a public safety organization. They provide fire and medical services for 8 different fire departments and counties throughout California. They previously had a kind of a fit in the start to their implementation that was a failure, and we got involved with them to reset the project. But I think some of the keys to the successful project that we had was really on their side. Their level of commitment went up from what we understood was the level of commitment previously. And so when we got involved, we help them focus around properly scoping the business processes, developing realistic timeframes, really assessing the client-driven system needs. So building out employee self-service capabilities was very, very important. So really understanding what those were, building out portal capabilities for their vendors so their vendors could interact with them in a seamless and on-demand way. Integrating existing technology that they weren't replacing, so new technology that they're bringing into the business, but also having it fully integrated with existing technology that they weren't abandoning. So, you can see the quote here. We had a lot of antiquated business processes that need to be re-engineered to be current with best practices and function with our new accounting system. Armanino learned our business process, helping us discover new ways of doing business. So again, it's a successful project. They gave us a nice quote, but I would say that they had as much to do with their success as anything by increasing their level of commitment and their own dedicated project management to the system. Okay, we're coming rapidly to a close here on our survey, and every year there's always some topical things that come into our survey that maybe don't fit into our big trends, but we definitely want to share them out to the audience. And one that popped up this year was around regulatory and compliance. And so, and it was surprising to us. And as you can see, 54% of our CFO respondents said they plan to spend more time this year on regulatory compliance areas than previously. And this was a surprise to us because as our previous survey results had indicated, time was staying flat in this area. So now we're seeing that it's going up in time. So we asked in that area, what is driving this? And the Affordable Care Act was the #1 driver. Companies and CFOs are spending a lot of time getting their head around this, not only from an HR perspective, finance perspective, insurance perspective, et cetera. Internal audit requirements was next, and then around data security. So as you can see, there's a number of regulatory things that are driving more time and attention by the CFO. And certainly it begs the question is how do you become efficient in these areas, in these new areas? And previous surveys we've talked about how companies have effectively outsourced key technical areas for their business to the experts. So this area is probably no different in making sure that you find experts in these areas and lean on them to help you accomplish your goals. Okay, so in conclusion today, I'd like to end, as we always do, with our CFO Evolution Framework, and it really is the base of our annual surveys that we do. Our clients are constantly looking for ways to transform their organization and get to the next level. In particular, they're faced with the challenge of streamlining their core accounting functions, shifting their focus from accountant to the business leader. It's clear from our research that this is what CEOs and boards are looking for from their CFOs to do and what we love helping them accomplish. I hope our review of the second half of our CFO survey was insightful, and I'd like to turn this back over to Lori at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we probably just ran out of time for questions. There were a few, but we can get back to those via email. What we do want to say is that at the conclusion of the webinar, the survey will pop up, and we do really encourage everybody to take it. If you do want CE, you will be required to take it, but we hope you can give us some feedback, and please, fill out any comments that you can. Our goal is always to get better and more insightful information for you, and let us know what you really liked so that we know what we can expand on in the future. Thank you so much to Tom. He did a great job. We appreciate his time and your time in spending this hour with us to look at the trends of the CFO organization. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. And one more thing, Tom's contact information is on your slide now. So if you want to reach him, feel free to reach out and email him any other questions. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.